Get off of the motorcycle. You're not getting up there again. Okay, so a few videos back, I talked about my Honda Rebel as an investment. So today, I'd like to tell you that. I'd like to tell you about that. The only problem is the wind's blowing a little, and I don't know if I can make an effective video today. Hey, you're going to have to stop chewing on my pants for just a minute. So, Keyfarm is a farm/fabrication channel, but a Honda Rebel is something that I know a little bit about, and I've been meaning to do a video about it a long time. So, just quit chewing, get out of here. So, you could also call this a 9 years of ownership, because I'm going to cover 2011 to now, basically. And I'm going to show you how this motorcycle saved me over $5,000 in fuel alone. Now let me tell you what I do not take into account. I do not take into account wear and tear on my other vehicles, because I don't know how to figure that. If you know how to figure wear and tear on a vehicle, comment down below. I'd love to, because once you figure in wear and tear, it saved me a lot more money than what I'm going to tell you about just in fuel. For instance, my old Blazer was a 99. If all of these miles on this bike had been on that Blazer, I would have had to buy that Tahoe that I'm driving now probably 2 years earlier than I actually did. And I wasn't really prepared to buy another vehicle 2 years earlier. So, I don't know how to figure wear and tear, but I'm sure it saved me more money there. I do not count maintenance, because I figure if you're not working on this, you'd be working on one of the SUVs I'm about to talk about. And, like, let's face it, when you start working on an SUV, it's a lot more expensive than working on this thing. For instance, I have a new front tire at the house that needs to be put on here. I think that one, by the time it was shipped to me, was $70-something off of eBay. And I mount all my own tires, by the way, so that keeps maintenance costs down as well. As a matter of fact, I've done all my own maintenance. Since I've owned this motorcycle, it's never been anywhere for any kind of maintenance other than me working on it in the driveway. So, and like I said, that tire was a little over $70 getting it to me. One tire on an SUV, as most of you know, can be well over $100, you know, for a full-size truck tire. So, I'm not going to include insurance. Insurance on this bike for me, for the majority of the time I'm going to speak on, was only $80 a year. And I kind of just chalk that up to enjoyment. Because, to be honest, most of the miles I'm going to talk about here, I racked up in the first 6 years that I own this, because in the last 3 years, I've felt a lot older, and I don't ride it as much as I used to ride it. Because the most important thing about what I'm about to talk about is, if you're going to buy a motorcycle to save money, you have to ride it a lot. Is that goat standing on my motorcycle? Ah! Get off the motorcycle! And in hindsight, I'd recommend not parking your motorcycle where the goat can stand on it. Lost my whole train of thought. Just give me a moment. Quit chewing on me. Alright, down to the nuts and bolts of this video. I often tell people that riding this motorcycle, 1, paid for itself, 2, paid for my horse trailer, and 3, paid for my little Farmall C tractor that I do my disking of the pumpkin patch with, and that I do all my bush hogging with. Not to be confused with my project tractor, the H Farmall. 2 different tractors. By the way, if you're a mechanically inclined human being, watch the videos on the H tractor. It is pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. But back to the nuts and bolts of this. And like I've said previously, I cannot remember anything, so I had to write it down. So the first thing I did, and I'm not counting this year because this year's only half over, I've averaged the price of fuel for the previous, from 2011 to 2019. So for those 9 years, I came up with an average price of fuel of $2.92. Quit pulling on my shirt. So what I do is I take that by cost per mile on this, which gets 70 miles to the gallon. Now that is a real legit number. I've checked it a lot. 70 miles to the gallon with me on it. Versus both of my different SUVs that I've had, which each got about 17 miles to the gallon. What's your problem? So, what I do is I figure a cost per mile, and then I add up how much those miles cost on here for fuel, and then I'll add up how much these miles would have costed in an SUV, subtract the difference. So this machine here, to operate it on 42,900 miles, roundabout, I've paid $1,700. It's hard to concentrate on numbers with a goat pushing on you. $1,758. So, those same miles in an SUV would have been $7,335. Okay, so basically, running this for these 42,900 miles has saved me $5,577 in 9 years. But now, like I said, these last 3 years, now that one hurt. Quit. Get out of here. So, these last 3 years, I haven't rode it much. So really, the majority of what I'm talking about was the first 6 years of ownership. Because these last 3, I have more or less rode it for leisure. And, I mean, when I first bought it, I was riding it in the wintertime. I'm not big on riding in the rain, but I've been caught in the rain coming home from work a bunch of times. But like I said, you have to ride it a lot. It's not going to save you any money just out there sitting in the garage. It won't save you. Quit. It won't save you any money sitting in the garage. Oh, one more note. I'm using the mileage that's on this. I bought this used in 2011. This is 2009. It had 1,500 miles on it. But in the heart of my riding days, where I was riding a lot, I broke a speedometer cable, and I rode for 6 weeks without one. And if your speedometer's not running, it's not counting miles either. It was a whole big thing. Look, I ordered the wrong one, and it was a week before I even ordered it. It got here, it was the wrong one, another week to get it back. Anyway, it turned out about 6 weeks, and best I can guess, maybe 1,500 miles. And that's what was on it. So it didn't count those 15, but it had 15 on it when I bought it. So I'm just going with this number right here. It's close enough. So, all these years I've been telling people that I paid for these 3 things with fuel savings. Let's see if that's true. So, $3,200 for the cycle, and I got them to throw in this helmet. I gave $1,400 for my tractor, and it came with a bush hog. That's going to play into the story here in a minute. And $1,300 for my horse trailer. Well, that adds up to $5,900, and I've saved $5,577. Stop it. So, anyway, when you do the math on that, I'm $323 short. Well, if you value that bush hog at $400, then my math comes out good. Because the way I've always valued my tractor, I figured I gave about $1,000 for the tractor and $400 for the bush hog. Because that's about what each of them would go for, separately. So, really and truly, after all these years of ownership, I can honestly say that I paid for this motorcycle, the tractor, not the bush hog, and my horse trailer with just fuel savings. Ow! Now, what do I think of the Honda Rebel? Look, for my kind of riding, it was perfect. Now, I don't ride on the interstate a lot, and if you're going to ride on the interstate a lot, you need something more than a 250. I mean, I have rode it on the interstate. I've took over 100-mile trips on it. And there's stories of a guy riding cross country on one. I'm not going to do it, but it was a pretty cool story to read. Maintenance on this, minimal maintenance. That speedometer cable, tires don't last real long. I'm probably on the 6th tire on the back and maybe the 4th one on the front, something like that. One set of brake pads on the front, and one clutch. And like I said, everything done in my driveway. As a matter of fact, I have a tire that needs to be mounted on the front as we speak. Let's see. What kind of problems does... The only problem my Honda Rebel has right now is the high beam headlight. I can't keep a high beam headlight in it, and I don't know if that's because I've installed the bulb wrong, bad set of bulbs, or if there's actually something wrong with the bike that it keeps shooting my high beam headlight. I've only put one battery in this bike all these years, and I did that just a few months ago. The same battery that came in it lasted 9 years. Now, I am meticulous. I'm not meticulous about keeping it clean, but I'm meticulous about lubricating the chain. I put a bigger front sprocket on this bike right when I got it because they, because Honda Rebels run so high. When you're going 65 miles down the road, the engine just sounds like it's wound out. Well, I learned very shortly into this that you can put a 15-tooth sprocket on the front and you can make this bike lower the RPMs. And back in those days, I was getting 70 to 72 miles to the gallon every gallon. So like I said, in the SUV 17 miles a gallon, in this 70. What else have I done to it? Or other problems? I really can't. I mean, it's been a great motorcycle. If you're just looking for a motorcycle, now look, I'm about 180 pounds right now. I've been as high as 200 pounds. This 250, it totes me just fine. Look, I know a lot of people think it's bigger and better with motorcycles. And look, if that's your deal and you're not worried about saving gas money, ow! Quit! Go for it. Get you a great big bike. But like I said, when I bought this one, I really couldn't afford a motorcycle unless it was going to save me money. So, there's my story. Hey, I'm Chris from Keyfarm. I wish you'd love God, love people. Check out some of these other videos. And if you got any questions, just comment down below. Get off the bike!